Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. I know, I know, I know. It's not my typical, right? But it is 3:16 a.m. And so I can't be as loud and as boisterous as I normally am. But I'm going to make up for that by giving you one hell of a review for Power Book 2, Ghost Season 2, Episode 5. Coming Home to Roost is the name of the episode. Um, gonna try to be as vocal as I can, as loud as I can in this review without waking up the entire house. You guys know it's the holiday season, so homes are chock full of loved ones, aren't they? Yes, they are. I hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your holiday season. Again, this episode is called Coming Home to Roost. And I just want to say a couple of things before we get going good. One, the soundtrack for this episode is absolutely banging, like banging, so good. Hoping that I can find the soundtrack for this episode. If you guys have any information as to how I can get the soundtrack for these for I'll take it for the whole season. I'm cool. Y'all let me know. Y'all hit me up. And then two, Courtney Kemp, you really tried it, girl. Okay. All right. Zeke is Mecca's son. Mecca's son is actually Zeke and not Kane. And I know she tried to change it at the last minute. The reason why is because up until this point, Mecca has had absolutely nothing to do. Dante has had nothing to do with Zeke at all. You know what I mean? He's not even looking at Zeke's stats. He's not even, you know, remotely interested in what Zeke got going on at school. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So, yeah, Courtney, you tried it, whatever. Like, this was your plan all along. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. The writing it gives it up for you. Like, the writing tells on you every time. Yeah, so anyway, this episode opens with Zeke turning himself in um, for this nonsensical, um, murder of Jabari. He gets there and no one cares because basically they found Ramirez's body, and so therefore Zeke is off the hook. Davis wants a full press uh, tour about it because he wants the public to know that Zeke has been exonerated. They have no evidence against Zeke. It's no big deal. Now, Detective A-Hole still wants to prosecute Zeke. He is just trying to figure out what this has to do with Zeke. He is determined to pin this on Zeke. Um, Meanwhile, um, Jamal Tate, the special investigator for the DA's office, is warming up to the idea that Tariq may be involved some sort of way. So we do get to see some interaction between Monet and Zeke where, she's just trying to make him feel better about everything that he's gone through. Uh, he's a petulant child. He cannot be consoled in any way on this matter. He does go through a bit of a, I guess, crisis, stress crisis or whatever, and ends up before the episode is over cutting his hair down and um, dyeing it reddish brown on the top. Doesn't do anything about his goofy childish behavior or goofy childlike personality. Doesn't get any smarter or wiser or stronger. just just colors his hair. That's all. That's the height and breadth of how his life changed after being accused of murder by the public, basically. Typically we go character by character. I think that works out best for me when I do these reviews. And when I go character by character, I usually discuss the characters that don't have a lot of impact or are just like filler, in my opinion, in this episode. I try to get them out of the way before I talk about the really big stuff that happened in the episode. Well, guess who's my filler character? I thought about it today, and that's going to be Tariq. Let me tell you why, even though big things happened in this episode, I am doing Tariq's storyline for this episode first because Tariq, for I would say the last two episodes, this one and the one prior for sure. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the last three episodes, but the last two, this one and the one prior, 4 and 5 for sure. Tariq has been like an annex character. It's been all about the Tejadas. And I do remember someone saying that season 2 we were going to get to know a lot more about the Tejadas. I just didn't think that Tariq was going to take such a back seat the majority of this season, and he really has. I mean, we just have not seen a lot from Tariq. Season 1, we got a lot of Tariq in school, and a lot of hustle and bustle. We did this episode get to see Tariq drive for what I believe is the first time. You guys put it down below. Have any of you all ever seen Tariq drive on this show? Ever? This season, this episode, we got to see Tariq drive. I was like, look at my big boy. Look at Mama's big baby, huh? Yes, he is. Yes, he's Mama's big baby. Um, but yeah, he's kind of been on the outskirts of things, and this episode is no different. I mean, Tariq is working really, really hard to try and get Yaz out of foster care. He's already set up the shell corporation for which Braden is the president, and to get a paycheck and be an employee, he also needs to get an apartment. And he's working really hard this episode to get an apartment. He does unfortunately lose the opportunity to get an apartment because of all of the little foxes, right? All of the little foxes. He also has a hearing set up where the judge is going to hear his case out to get custody of his sister. And eventually, we get to see all of his hard work that he has put into getting Yaz. He is so proud of himself, and we get to see that it all just falls through his fingers. And this is supposed to be Tariq's chickens coming home to roost. This is supposed to be Tariq's karma. But remember, again, we are only seeing Tariq in these first few episodes in the annex. You know what I mean? He is on the outside of the episode looking in, really. Remember, Tariq was accepted into like the upper echelon part of the colonial studies class. Jabari Reynolds was killed, and we've not seen Tariq move into this accelerated place in school at all, right? Tariq is preoccupied, you know. And like I said, it's all the little foxes that's distracting him. We've got Lauren and the watch. We've got Milgram, who's been warned by Monet now that Zeke has been exonerated, I guess. Has been warned by Monet to stay away from Zeke and to stay away from this situation. For whatever reason, you would think Milgram would go somewhere and put her head in the sand and just, be like, ah, la, 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 to the BS. She doesn't. She doesn't. She puts her foot on the gas and she drives extremely, extremely fast into Tariq's whole situation in his life. She's working very, very hard, manipulating Lauren with this whole recording situation and talking Lauren into doing things that are against her constitutional rights. She's a former prosecutor, as you know. Um, like I said, she can't help herself. When Jamal Tate and Detective A-Hole come to her and want her to read Jabari's book, the same book that Tate read, um, which led him to suspect Tariq. They want her to read it. She reads it and immediately begins to suspect Tariq herself. In class, as a matter of fact, she wants to talk about karma, and she only wants Tariq to tell her all about karma, what karma means, and does he know what karma feels like, and what do you think about karma, yada, yada, yada. I mean, she's pretty aggressive at, letting Tariq know that she thinks he's guilty. What are you talking about? These are your students. First season, you were just head over heels with Tariq, sympathetic. I mean, you're throwing vigils outside of the school in an effort to show Tariq your support. Like, what? Anyway, she's turned into quite a slimy little character. Um, Also, we see where Lauren, like I said, she manipulates Lauren into not just recording Tariq, but to do it live so that they can listen in as Lauren wears the watch to everybody's conversation. Okay, the little foxes. Braden is always going to be one of Tariq's little foxes. Why? Because Braden is a weak link. He's very much a weak link. He's just as, if not a weaker link than Drew is. And I'll tell you, those two, to me, are the two weakest links in the whole shabagle. You know what I mean? Um, because of Lauren in the watch, she captures conversation of Tariq, saying that he had talked to Professor Jabari, and Professor Jabari told him who it was that he was writing about in the book, and it wasn't Braden. Because see, Lauren suspects Braden, but Professor Milgram wants to keep pushing the Tariq angle. She knows she can't come right out and tell her that she suspects Tariq, but she's going to use Lauren to prove her point, much like Jamal Tate and DA A-Hole. Um, she also, with the watch, gets conversation from Kane there in Tariq and Braden's room, and Kane uses his government name. Well, they hear it, and they're able to gather that information over the whole Watts situation. Lauren is able to help Tariq get an apartment. When his original apartment falls through, she gives him carte blanche to her brother's apartment while he's in rehab, and also provides him with the lease. But she's still one of our little foxes because of the watch situation. Now she thinks she's helping Tariq and she's getting information on Braden. She's really hurting Tariq because she's trying to get information on Braden, right? Mind you, Tariq and Lauren both are in colonical studies. They're supposed to be the creme de la creme in terms of brain power. So, yeah, not sure why she's letting Professor Milgram run this game on her and finesse her in this way. But I digress. I digress. More little foxes. Monet is definitely a big fox, a big little fox in Tariq's life. She's more trouble than she's worth, really, in the whole Tariq situation. I mean, after he does what she asks, and basically follows Kane, um, he almost gets his life taken. And then when he goes down for the hearing, um, she actually forces him in the car at gunpoint. They're sitting right there in front of the courthouse. I don't know why he would be worried about her and that gun. I mean, if you discharge a gun in front of a courthouse, baby, you going to jail. Jail. Okay? Um, but he has a ghost moment. He has a ghost moment. She's telling him that because she's upset with him, she's pissed off, and we're going to talk about why. She's going to force him to lose custody of his opportunity to get custody of his sister, and because of everything that she had to go through with Zeke almost losing his freedom. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense, Monet. Why are you here? Okay. And we get to see Tariq have a ghost moment. Like I said, here lately, he's been giving us more ghost moments. We get a lot of ghost moments, really first season, second season power moments from Mecca, but we still get some ghost moments. But Tariq gives us our best ghost moments when she tells him she's in control, and Monet tells him she's in control, and he says, "You know what? You're not in control. You think you're in control, but you're not in control, right? Like your daughter's the one that stole that money. Diana's the one that stole that money. Kane's the one that replaced your cocaine with sugar, and Drew's down there, and he's still bucking around with Everett. Everett is the dude that told the cops, dropped Drew's name, and dropped Zeke's name to the police when that whole club situation went down. You think you in control? You ain't control of nothing, okay? And he shuts her down and gets on up out of the car. That was a ghost moment. That was a ghost moment. When he turned to her and looked at her, I was like, oh, we're going to get a ghost moment. And voila, magic. Here it is. This was a good moment for Tariq. It really, really was. Um, let's see. Law enforcement is definitely one of the little foxes in Tariq's life. Like I said, Tate suspects Tariq. The DAA holds still suspects Zeke, but because of Braden and Lauren in the watch, and Kane's insistence on having his nose wide open about Tariq, the Tejada's name gets on that tape, and they are now digging in into the Tejadas. If they're digging in the Tejadas, that's not just going to affect Tariq criminally, it's going to affect him monetarily. You know what I mean? His real money comes from the drugs. If the Tejadas are being slowed down from getting those drugs, it's going to eventually hurt Tariq. Actually, I stand corrected. It's already hurting Tariq. I mean, when he learns about Zeke possibly turning himself in, this is before he finds out that Zeke has been exonerated. He realizes he's got to move all of his supply and money to the rooftop. And it's so funny because he was basically raised by criminals, his uncles, even the whole season with Kane that he had, and he didn't learn to sweep his room. He didn't learn to um check his area, right? Like to be more cautious. Tariq is not very observant at all. Even when Milgram was questioning him in class, it was a bit of a red flag for him. He thought it was weird, but his daddy would have, being Ghost, began following Milgram and finding out who she was talking to. He would have found a way to figure out what Milgram was up to, especially after if he had been questioned like Milgram was questioning Tariq in class. So yeah, Tariq's got a lot to learn. But yeah, law enforcement is definitely one of his little foxes. Um, After everything that they hear on the watch, without a warrant, listen, I just want to say this. So I know that most of my honeybees know, but if I have any younger honeybees out there, college age honeybees out there, they can't search your property, dude, without a warrant. They can't do it. Without permission, without a warrant, they can't search your property. It just can't be done. They can't record you without a warrant from a judge. That judge is first going to have to see what the probable cause is. No judge is going to grant a warrant off of this flimsy bit of evidence, right? It's not going to happen. Okay, but they do. They end up getting probable cause because of what they heard Tariq say about he knows who Jabari was writing about, and the fact that Kane gave his government name on while talking to Lauren. They use this as probable cause to search Tariq's room. They do search Tariq's room and they find the badge that Kane planted. And Tariq comes in from court. He has won custody of his sister Yaz, and he feels good about himself. He feels like this is the one thing that he's doing, good thing that he's doing, legal thing that he is doing to take care of his family. He was very, very kind to his grandmother, and he wasn't saying you'll never see Yaz again. He's saying once you get yourself better, once you get yourself rehabilitated from all these alcohol and stuff, we can all be together again. And he tells Yaz the same thing. I'm going to get custody of you now, but don't hate Granny. Granny's just going through a lot. He's proud of all of this. He is walking on the campus. He's sharp. Looks good in his suit. And immediately gets arrested in front of the whole campus. And just walk through the campus like a perp walk through the campus with this banging music playing in the background. It's a really, really, really good soundtrack. And gets to jail and he's just sitting there. He does get to talk to his lawyer. Well, one of his lawyers. This lawyer is the same lawyer that represented him in the custody case. It is the executor of his father's estate, that lawyer. Well, James St. Patrick had given the lawyer an envelope with a letter in it for Tariq in the event that Tariq was arrested for a homicide. He says he hadn't even read it. Gives it to Tariq, and Tariq opens it up in the jail cell by himself. Now, never mind that they don't allow you to have these types of things in jail. It's irrelevant, right? It's Courtney Kemp. This is how she wants to do it. Opens it up, looks in the envelope, and it's basically a one-liner that amounts to a nanny boo boo from his own daddy. Like, basically, little ninja, I knew you'd end up here. Basically, that's what it said, and it's hurtful. It's hurtful, right? It is hurtful. He came from this high down to this low, right? And that's Tariq for this episode. Now, given these developments, we probably will see him come from the annex portion and come into more in depth into the storyline, I would say, in the next few episodes. But yeah, That's Tariq, right? And Milgram and Braden and all of that. Now, let's talk about the Tejadas real quick, okay? Because this really was the meat and potatoes. It's all about the Tejada. Our best moment, I'm gonna say, our best moment definitely came from Kane. This episode, Woody really Woody McLean, I think is his name. Man, he acted his butt off in this episode, right? um Monet is really just living raggedy and reckless, you know. Mecca really wants her, Dante wants her to sign her life away, basically. Get rid of this guy that you're married to in jail and come be with me, bring all your children, our son Zeke, and I'm just gonna take care of you and run your life, and you don't have to worry about anything ever again. Now, um, scares me, and obviously it scares her too, because she turns him down. Okay, but she also has got this clever idea that she's going to pit Tariq and Kane against each other. This is more of her trying to say to both her husband and to Dante that I don't need a man, that I can run this, I can do this. I just got to get my people together, right? My people meaning my children and somebody else's child that that I got running drugs for me. Those are her people. Right. Okay. So she pits Kane and Tariq against each other by telling Tariq that, you know, he owes her. And because of everything that happened with Zeke, she wants him to go and follow Kane and find out who Kane's connect is. And then she goes to Kane and tells Kane that she doesn't have enough control over Tariq. And the fact that Tariq lied to her when she asked him flat out if he knew anything about Jabari's murder means that he doesn't fear her. So she needs to have something to hold over his head, and she puts Kane in charge of that. Now, Kane obviously is going to go straight through to Braden because he feels like he's got Braden pegged as the weakest link, which he is. He is, right? But um the 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 funny thing is it came back to bite her so quickly. Like I thought it was gonna take a couple of episodes when she put them up playing in motion, but it came back to bite her pretty quickly. Um Tariq almost gets killed behind it. He did end up talking to Diane and setting up this fake, you know, need for money. And I need you to ask Kane for the money. And then, you know, she goes and asks Kane for the money. And she unwittingly tells him what Kane needed to know. He really didn't need to continue to go down to the dorm and try to deal with Braden because Diane had already told him Tariq needs money. He needs money to get his custody of his sister. This is Tariq's weakness, right? But Tariq was using it so that he could send Braden to meet Kane to get the money. Everybody's using Braden, right? And then he follows Kane from there, and he follows Kane, who takes them. Basically, he was giving them more drugs, extra drugs. They were giving him Kane money. He was going to sell the drugs for money. That's why we know it was the setup, right? Because his court case was the next day. Anywho, Tariq follows him, does a great job following him. Again, we got to see Tariq drive. Um, and for some reason, gets in his head that he's going to go up to the door of the place that Kane just went into. He heard him say Mecca. He has the address, the name of the hotel. He goes up to the door and has his phone at the keypad. Nuff, the guy that Becca choked out at his own birthday party, hems Tariq up, beats him up pretty good, hems him up and puts him on the camera where the sushi chef and Kane are standing there looking, and the sushi chef was like, "Who is that?" And Nuff is like, "I don't know." And Kane, "Do you know who this is?" "I don't know. I don't know this guy." Kane lies. But like I said, Tariq gets mollywopped pretty good. And it is causes him to be late. It causes him to lose the apartment on the first go round. And um, basically, she could have gotten him killed. Likewise, Kane, who has information because of how Tariq got turned up by Nuff, he ends up having to not just lie to the sushi chef and Nuff, but they take it straight to Mecca. And the situation got Nuff killed because Mecca was holding him responsible for bringing a civilian, that's military talk, into the situation, and the sushi chef cut Nuff's throat for it, right there in front of Kane. Okay, Kane was able to confiscate um, Tariq's phone, which Nuff had taken off of him, and so then Kane goes home while Monet is busy calling Tariq's phone. Kane's got the phone and the phone's vibrating off the hook. He throws it down there and he was like, uh, it's Tariq's phone. What you doing with Tariq's phone? I found out Tariq's weakness is his sister. He's got a sister that he's trying to get custody of. That's his weakness. And he says, by the way, you've been playing us against each other this whole time, Monet. Here we go. Here we get quality acting. What are you talking about? You've been playing us. I've been suspicious of Tariq this whole time, thinking he's trying to move in on the family, but you've been playing us against each other. When are you gonna trust me? All this time, you didn't even you supposed to let me back into the family, thinking you love me. I'm doing all I can to show you how much I care about you, how much I care about this family, and you just you don't trust me. You don't trust me. I'm not stupid, even though you tell me that I am all the time. Am I your soldier or am I your son? Ooh. She said both. He said, well, what does that say about you as a mama? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Kane was having none of it. None of it. And it kind of shakes Monet to her core. So the next day, this is where she commandeers Tariq. And it was in this moment she gets shook even further off her block, right? She is further being told by the people that she has had under her thumb all this time that she's not that strong, okay? Finds out that her whole crew doing stuff under her nose. She finds out about the sugar, the actual booger sugar. She finds out about the stolen money. Diana did that. She finds out about the Drew situation. She's shaken to her core once again by somebody who's supposed to be a minion, right? Under her control. All of this forces her to go back to Dante and say, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe I do need your help. I'm tired, you know. Maybe I've let my whole family down. Maybe I need to step down from this position and let somebody else run things. But we've got to do things slowly. In other words, you cannot meet with Zeke yet, your son. Give me some time on that. Give me some time to figure a lot of this stuff out. Okay? She goes home And she hears all this commotion. Now she's already gone to the jailhouse to see her husband and tell him that Zeke got off. I'm glad your nephew got off. Meanwhile, he's getting a phone call from Stacks. He asked her to step out for a minute so he can take this phone call. She's a little bit suspicious, but she doesn't investigate. Again, she's got her own little foxes, right? She has not only been told off, shamed, and guilted by her son, who's supposed to be her bulldog, right? Do as he told, obedient servant. But she's also been rocked off her block by Tariq, who really basically snatched them rose-colored glasses she had on about each and every one of her children. Only thing he didn't do was tell her, you know, Zeke dumb it back rocks, right? So she doesn't really have time to investigate what is going on with her husband. And therefore, she misses the fact that there was a hearing. He got out of jail. And now he's sitting in her living room, in the dining room, talking with the kids. He's back at home, unbeknownst to her, right? Diana is looking so satisfied because she's like, now things going to get back on track because daddy's in charge. And he's not going to be a terrible drug dealer boss like you are, Mom. Right? I don't know what the heck Drew think is going to go on. Because you're not going to be able to slip and slide with Everett like you was doing with Monet. Because dollars a donut, your daddy ain't down with you being a homosexual. Right? And Kane, come on now. You got a whole nother connect here. How your daddy going to feel about that? Everybody should feel some type of way about Lorenzo Tejada being home. Let's talk a little bit about Mecca, aka Dante. Uh, the whole Dante is Zeke's father is a joke. It's it's nonsensical. I mean, we've seen absolutely positively no movement where Zeke is concerned outside of this $1 million from last week. None. We've seen none. Sorry. We haven't. He's followed Kane. He's followed Tariq. He's followed Monet. He sent people around to Monet's house to play music, drive past the bar to play music. We have not seen him take any moment to stand on the outskirts and watch his beloved son, who's an accomplished basketball player. He's more concerned about Monet than he is about Zeke. He's had more conversation and more rearing and more tutelage for Cain than he has for his son Zeke. When he does get to meet Zeke, he's going to be so disappointed because Zeke is dumb as a bag of rocks. He's not going to be able to rear Zeke to his hand like he's doing Cain. Cain was supposed to be the son. And because Courtney Kemp is trying to be smart, she's giving us Zeke. Why is Zeke still alive? Anyhow. He's put way more into Cain than he ever did Zeke. But he low-key keeps threatening Cain. You know, when he has the sushi chef kill Nuff over the Tariq situation, I don't understand why he didn't pull the tape. If he had pulled the tape, he would have known that Cain was lying. Now, he's going to pull that tape. He's going to pull that tape. It's just not now, but he's going to pull that tape. Diana and Drew. Drew is still ducking Everett. I don't know why we keep getting these scenes. They don't make any sense. They're nonsensical, except the fact that they do keep showing us what a weak link Everett is, and thereby Drew. That's the only reason I can imagine that we keep getting these scenes. I mean, Drew, it's got to be to show us that Drew and Everett is the weak link. So I'm going to say Drew along with Lorenzo and Milgram, not Drew, Everett, Lorenzo, and Milgram are they're setting them up to be our potential collateral damage for this season. Everett for sure is gonna get it. I'm almost positive Everett's gonna get it. But I think we're gonna get at least one other. It's either gonna be Milgram or it's gonna be Lorenzo. Um, Diana's gonna be Monet's downfall, and you know, it, to me, she's also gonna be Kane's downfall. Um, she is busy using people and she's getting used, and she doesn't really realize it. She feels like she knows enough. She's one of those individuals that feel like I'm smart enough. I know more than you think I know, and I got this, right? But like I said, she feels like she's using, but she's also getting used, right? um yeah, it's weird. Let's talk about Kane. Kane is so fixated so much on Tariq, he can't see his way clear to be his own man. He's relying far too much on Mecca and his advice. Although, Mecca is like his stand-in dad while his dad's in jail. He's just trading demons. He's trading the Monet demon for the Mecca demon, basically. um he's a bulldog, so he is he wants a master. He's always looking for a master. His conversation with Monet, like I said, this episode was one of the most powerful scenes that we've had from this franchise, right? And he's given us 2 good seasons of acting. I will say that. He's just a little boy, just asking for his mommy's love. But his moves against Tariq have already had dire consequences, right? We've seen Tariq get arrested. And had he just paced himself down a little bit more, he would have seen the Monet piece and he could have made a decision from there. But as it stands, he's positioned Tariq to really possibly be able to take the whole family down. And he's already gotten his family's name thrown in the mix. It wasn't Zeke and hit the allegations against Zeke that got his family's name thrown in the mix. It was Kane that got his family's name thrown in the mix. And it's gonna be exacerbated because you set Tariq up. Davis is still working on getting his brother out of jail. He's got all these other cases, but he's got a heart for getting his brother out of jail. And it's not just because I think this is his brother and he loves his brother, but also I think his brother is in jail because of something they did together. And his brother is taking the blame for it and is keeping Davis out of jail. He feels like he can get his brother off and not implicate himself, but his brother is like, no, I don't want you to get me out of jail if it's going to put you in jail. So I'm interested in seeing what Davis got going on. My questions for this episode, um, Mecca loves Monet. He says he's not leaving New York without her. He loves Monet. He seems to have an affinity for Kane. But is his love for Monet going to keep him from killing her son, Kane? Is he really interested in Zeke at all? Seems more interested in Monet and Kane than he is in Zeke, right? It's almost better for them to blame Zeke at this point for the murder, because he may end up having to kill Kane. One, because Kane lied to his face. When he looks back at that tape and he sees that it was Tariq at the door, I mean, he choked Show enough out for talking too much. And then had his throat slit in his kitchen for possibly bringing a civilian to their doorstep with complaints. he finds out Kane has been lying to him. I'm just saying. Um, Drew is the weakest link to me in the Tejada clan because of his tie with Everett. But who do you all think is the other weak link? For me, it's Drew and Braden. Drew, Everett, and Braden, right? Um, what are Diana and Drew doing? I mean, we haven't seen Drew take any drugs, drop any money off. We haven't seen him do any of these things. They both seem to be spending their time in leisure. Like, where is your crew, Monet? Lorenzo came home like his brother. Do you guys think he's gonna end up like his brother? Y'all know how his brother ended up, huh? Dead. What did y'all think of this episode? I would love to know. I would love for you guys to put it down below. To me, it was a good episode. It was a good episode. We're just going to skate past this whole Zeke situation because it's nonsensical. Okay. Okay, Courtney. Okay. It's no big deal to us because originally I feel in my gut that it was supposed to be Kane and she switched it at the last minute. All of the writing says it was Kane. Everything points to Kane. You guys throwing some extra lines in to make it look like it was always Zeke. We're not buying it. Um, Also, Mary J. Blige cannot kiss on camera. Period. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Put it down below. And until next time, honeybees. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Ah, holla.